Here's McCollum. A three off the inbound. Count.
Welcome to I Game Around, the only podcast that still hasn't figured out his tagline. I say this every episode, but my tagline used to be, so niggas didn't like that name so they could eat a dick. That was way too aggressive, so I needed to change it, but I haven't figured out what to change it to yet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you think about getting some sponsors, I don't know about that.
So today I'm joined by Alexxmedia. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, my friend?
Don't ask. It's been a long day. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, Alex is a videographer out of NYC, and what I wanted to talk to you about is how did you get into the passion? What gave you that, spurt to actually even go into videos and cameras and things of that nature? So, let's just start it out with something simple.
Sure.
Who is Alexxmedia?
Who's Alexxmedia? All right. That's a very complex question. So, Alexxmedia is a 30-year-old, I still say young man, born and raised in New York, Far Rockaway, Queens. And I never thought about getting into any facet of entertainment. Like, I was always just like, hey, you go to school, you graduate, you get a good job, like the safe route. But, I always had a passion in like making little videos. Like I would go on vacations all the time and like, make little clips and then edit them together, not realizing what I was doing at the time was even editing. It was just like making a little video.
I don't think anybody did that at a young age. So.
Yeah. But it's like my friends thought it was dope, and then, they would always share it on their Facebooks or whatever. So that was just like my role every vacation. We would go on like yearly vacations and stuff. So, so it's like I picked up a camera for the first time 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Good gracious. So what?
Like a real camera. Of course, I had like camera phones and stuff, but like I picked up a real. I picked up a camera for the first time 3 years ago.
What was the inspiration behind picking up that camera?
So me and two good friends from Texas, they moved here with like dreams and aspirations of becoming like a director, and they're a bit younger than me. They needed like some direction, and because I had no experience in that, I was like, yo, you know what? I could just be like basically your business partner. So I helped them out. Like we started an LLC, got a company card, purchased some equipment.
What was the name of the company?
It's still existing. It's called On Booze Productions.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to crush y'all's dream like y'all have
followed. Oh, yeah. No. We're still around. We still make some shorts and stuff like that. Like we submit to festivals, things like that.
Okay.
Like, because that's the ultimate dream one day. But, so I was just helping them out more so on the business end while they were doing like the writing and, most of the filming. Like we would usually have to hire out, and that was super expensive. So it's like whenever we would shoot a 10-minute short, we need to pay for a videographer, we need to pay for a sound guy, we need to pay for an editor.
Right.
And a 10-minute short would be like $3,000-$4,000 just to shoot. Just to have like some good quality stuff so we can submit it to festivals and stuff. And I'm like we can't keep doing this because most festivals are denying our shit, and two, we're not winning nothing. Like we're not getting anywhere with this formula. So
what kind of short films were you doing?
Mainly like dramas and like drama comedy type stuff.
Give me a story of one.
So one short was like loosely based on their life. So they moved here to Texas. They moved here from Texas with very little money, no jobs, whatever. They just like risk it. They were three originally in a 1-bedroom and just like doing anything they had to do to make money. And so it's kind of just like those types of awkward circumstances they had to go through. Okay, gotcha. Like they had some wild stories, like it's stuff I can't even talk about. Like just say like things were done for money. like wild story.
Let your imagination.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we have some good fucking material for this show, but like the shorts that we shot, we didn't have that much experience. So it's like, you know, they're looking for certain things when you submit to these festivals, and we just didn't have it.
Okay, gotcha.
So in order to continue doing it, you know, I had to figure out a way to make it cheaper. So I invested my money to purchase our own equipment, like instead of renting equipment.
So what were you doing in that time for money?
I've always, like, I started working since age 15, and I've never not had a job. At the time when we first started the company, I was working in healthcare. Like, I was doing medical coding, and at the same time, I was going to nursing school. So it's like I never knew what I wanted to do in my life. I just knew I needed a job. So, like, at first, I got my bachelor's in psychology from Hunter, and then I didn't do shit with that. And then I went to nursing, graduated nursing school. I can be a registered nurse right now. Didn't do shit with that. Yeah. Like, I'm multifaceted, but
So
I've always
are you, like,
had...
in debt with student loans right now with all these classes?
You know, luckily with Hunter, it was CUNY, so it's not too bad. I paid for that out of pocket.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
nursing, I'm still paying that off right now. Yeah. Fuck Sally Mae, man.
All right, so how did the transition start between nursing and the film?
So, well, I never actually worked a day of nursing, because when I was going through school and I was going through clinicals where you actually, like, go into the hospital and you're like, you shadow a nurse. I saw the difference in level of care of a nurse who loves the job and one who's there for the check. And there was stuff you had to do in nursing, like wipe asses and put catheters on niggas' dicks and shit like that. And I just wasn't about that life. And so I realized, like, yo, I don't really have a passion for this, and I don't want to just do it for the check, because then it's like, how would I feel if it was my loved one in the hospital and, like, the person taking care of them is, like, not really giving them good care? So, like, not to sound corny or cliche, but God's plan, like, right around the time I was graduating, I got called for the court officer academy. Like, my mom, she works in the courts, and so she makes me take all these tests, all these public service tests and shit. And so they called me to start the academy, and this was the day of my graduation. I got called. So I was like, wow, this must be a sign or whatever. So I ended up doing that. So I never worked a day as a nurse. Like, I think 2 days after, I had to, like, get off physicals, a whole bunch of stuff, and then I started the academy. And so I'm actually, to this day, I'm still a court officer.
Jeez.
Yeah, got a gun and everything. Like, all the same power as a cop, but I just work within the court. And, oh, my God, the benefits are great, especially when you're a videographer, because I'm bringing equipment everywhere. Yeah, so, like, I'm from studio to studio. And so that's why a lot of people like my work, because it's like I'm so mobile, and, like, I can just, like, pick up, set up, let's shoot, and I'm out. I'll edit the shit that same night, and I got your work the next day. Like, I don't sleep very much,
right,
but I work my ass off.
So what was the passion for getting into film? Like, all right, let's say you did the short films with the company that I just forgot the name of.
On Boost.
On Boost.
Yeah, because we drink a lot.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
on Boost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, so why did you choose to move into more of your own role, doing things by yourself?
Oh, because the money thing. So it's like, instead of hiring out, I was like, let me teach myself how to do this shit.
Right.
So I picked up the camera, started learning how to use that. I picked up the Adobe and Final Cut and learned how to edit, learned how to do color correction. Audacity and the other Adobe sound program, learned how to, clean up sound. Like, I was just teaching myself every possible function of shooting that I can possibly do, just to save the company money so we wouldn't have to hire out help.
And none of the other guys wanted to?
Like, so they had different situations. One of the dudes, he actually fell off of a balcony, a four-story balcony. Like, the gate broke, and he fell to the ground. Luckily, he's good walking. He can play ball. Like, oh, shit, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Oh, he got a settlement already. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, so, but he's living a life. So he just turned 27, just got a check for a few million. So he's good. So prepare to see some good production shorts on the way, for real. Because now we got some money. But so he was out of commission with that for a while, because while he was waiting for the settlement, he can't do anything. Like, he couldn't get seen outside lifting anything. They usually have like investigators and shit like that. So he was out of commission for a while. It took 4 years for him to finally get that check. And then the other dude, he kind of lost his passion in it. Like he just started working like in restaurants and shit like that. Yeah, you know, because it's like, if money's not coming in, you got to do what you got to do. But luckily I was older and I always had like decent jobs. So, you know,
you're able to do both.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Damn, that sucks. Well, losing your passion sucks. Like if you move somewhere and you think like this is what my life is gonna be, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna grind hard and do it, and then it doesn't happen. It's kind of damn.
And it sucks. It's like it's funny because they moved here for that. I had no intentions of it, and now like I'm taking off. Like I'm in this videography shit and I'm not looking back. Like I really, sky's the limit right now.
Okay, so let's pause your story real quick.
Sure.
Just being a videographer, what to you, what is the definition of that? Because I looked it up on Google and I was like, nah, I still don't know what it is.
Interesting. I don't know the actual definition of videographer. I just consider the person behind a video camera videographer. That's what I call them.
Do you but it's like take pictures and things too?
Nah. I definitely have a separation. So when I first started, like I used to, in my bio, I used to have photographer and videographer. And like as I, you know, learned more about it, I felt like it was offensive to photographers to call myself a photographer because I didn't put the same work in photography, like learning photography, that I did with videography. And so I would go places like one of the first people I started working with was Cypher Sounds. Like he's like the guy who kind of put me on. And
how'd you get in contact with him?
As corny as it sounds, and I hopped in his DMs. Like I just said like, yeah, it was around the time he had just left Hot 97 and he was like really trying in comedy. And he like had this show where, and he still has it, it's like an improv show that he'll bring like a rapper or somebody from hip hop. They'll tell a story, and then he has like four people that do improv. They'll just like reenact a story, but in a funny way.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like a blend of like hip hop and comedy. And I love comedy. Like I love stand up. I actually wanted to be a comedian for a while. I've tried it, just couldn't do it. It's way harder than it fucking looks.
Do you remember any of your jokes?
I'm not gonna repeat it. They were that bad, bro.
Good gracious.
I had one about like women being witches. Like, oh, my girlfriend was a witch because she knows when I have to pee before I even do, and she knows when I'm hungry and shit. Like, it was a better delivery, but
no, it probably wasn't. Anyway. All right, so moving on. So after getting with Cypher, what happened?
So I was working with Cypher for a while. One thing that I want to let everybody know, especially in hip hop, I hear this a lot: prepare to work for free. If you love what you're doing, don't take a job if it doesn't come along with a check. Because there was many a nights I worked with Cypher, never got a dime, but the experience and the networking was so valuable. So it's like that also, you know, gave me the passion to like, yo, I need to get better, because there was stuff that he would ask me to do that I just couldn't do. So I would just like go home and go on the best university in the world, which is YouTube, and teach myself.
Right.
And that's really how I did. Like every single thing I couldn't do, go home, YouTube, sit there for hours, watch a bunch of corny people do tutorial videos, and then learn how to do it.
I think that literally is. YouTube is the best university.
Oh, hands down. Like you can learn. You could probably learn heart surgery on YouTube.
Just take a couple shots at it, you'll get it by the fifth or sixth.
Yeah. You might kill a couple people, but
when you learn, you're gonna know it. All right. So, how did matter of fact, give me one of the things that you didn't, that Cypher asked you to do that you didn't know.
So he wanted me to make a promo video for like him DJing. So, and he gave me an example of one, and the one that he gave me an example of, it almost looked like a music video. Like they had like the cuts were going with the beat of the music, and they had like, you know, I'm really not technical when it comes to videography, but they had like that thing, you know, when the snare is really fast, like Timberland beats, it's like and then they'll have the video like go back and forth really quickly and shit like that. It's like I couldn't do that at the time, and he wanted that, and he wanted it to look like cinematic, and I'm like, bro, right now I'm putting my camera on auto and hitting record. So like, so yeah, it's like I just had to go home, hours, learn, and now it's like it wasn't. I never really gave him exactly what he wanted, but I learned so much in doing that.
So if you weren't getting paid at the time, and you know he's asking you to do something that's outside of your realm, why would you even do it? Like, why wouldn't you be like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. You're gonna have to ask somebody else.
I love it.
Really?
I love it. Like, it's like, it's an art, man. It's like, you have to take bits and pieces of, like, clips that you shot and then surgically put it together in post and make it look like a nice cohesive piece. Like, there's really an art to it. People take it for granted, but it's like, I'm envious of anybody in the arts. Like, videographers, editors, like, even guys who just do, like the ambient noise, like that takes skill. Like you can't just like, oh, let me just get some bass and throw it on a track. You're like, nah, like that shit is impressive. Yeah.
Okay, so are you still currently working with Cypher Sounds?
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. Not recently, because I kind of fucked up. I'm gonna tell a story, but without saying any names, so I don't get anybody in trouble. So basically, me and Cyph, I was recording his podcast, The Guest Spot, at a particular location, and at this location, cameras aren't allowed. Typically, they were giving him the leeway of having a camera out because he was recording the podcast.
Okay.
While recording the podcast, he was interviewing a comedian, fairly well-known comedian. And then while that was going on, there were like a table of all women, and some big A-listers were at this table. Like women who've won Oscars, who like are huge, major. Yeah. And they started just like, they interrupted the podcast and were like bickering and like just cracking on the comedian that was being interviewed at the time, because they were like, yo, why you don't answer our texts? We invited you over for like game night and shit like that. Like, it was such a dope moment to see like this A-list celebrity like complaining to this comedian like, why you don't answer my text? And like, I'm there with the camera catching this moment. I'm like, yo, this is golden. Right. And I'm like, I was just like, got caught up in the moment, and so I posted a clip of that to Instagram.
On your personal Instagram?
My personal Instagram, okay. Yeah. And every time I was out with Cyph, I would always post stuff that I'm doing, like while we're working, and he never discouraged it, because it's just another way of promoting whatever the fuck he's doing.
Right.
But this particular time, I didn't tag a single person. I didn't geotag, but somehow that A-list celebrity has some type of hive of fans who found the video. That video made it to TMZ, made it to E! News.
Wow.
Yeah. So then the location that we were shooting at comes down on Cyph like, yo, why are you recording? Why are you putting people on blast? You know you're not supposed to do that. So then Cyph was tight at me. Like, it was a mistake. I got geeked up in a moment, right, and yeah. So yeah, he hasn't really been very happy with me since. But I still love you, Cyph, man. Forgive me, bro.
And this was what, months ago?
Yeah, a few months ago.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So after all that happened, what was the next big thing that happened for you?
A few big things happened. So one of the episodes that I was shooting with Cyph, Andrew Schultz was the guest, and it was so funny. Like, I never stopped working. So Andrew does this thing where he does a question of the day. He just like points out some random. Andrew Schultz is a comedian, if you don't know. Like he points out some like random thing that he noticed, and I loved it, but I'm like, he just has a front-facing phone, and it looks like, just like, I wanted to add some production value to it. I was like, right, yo, let's like throw in like some little graphics or whatever the case is. And another person just hit him up through the DMs, Like, I was trying to get in contact with them. I was a huge fan of Brilliant Idiots with him and Charlemagne. Like, I've been to a few live shows, but, like, never had a connection from there.
Oh, so you just went as a fan.
Oh, yeah. I'm a fan of all these people. I was a huge fan of Syph. I was a fan of every single person I work with right now. I'm still a fan. Like, I'm very green to this. So we were in talks, like, via Twitter, figuring out a way that we can add some production value to that thing that he does every day. And we were going back and forth for a little bit. And then me getting too ambitious, like, I wrote, like, a long message, like, hey, I'm also working on this short. I was wondering maybe if you would be willing to act in it. You know, there's a lot of projects I wanted. Like, I just sent too long of a message. And these guys are busy as fuck. I understand. And so he saw that message and he was like, nah. So he never, like, he just, like, ghosted on me and shit. 3 days later, I didn't know this, he was going to be a guest on Syph's podcast. So, like, once Syph told me that, like, I told Syph about the story.
Right.
Syph, this motherfucker. Andrew sits down. Before even hello, he's like, yo, why'd you ghost on my man Alex over here? This motherfucker. So, like, we talked about it. Like, I think it might have been on the podcast that we talked about it, or maybe it was before we started recording. And Andrew explained to me why he did, like, he's like, yo, I just don't respond to, like, really long messages. And then once people start talking about other things they're trying to do, he doesn't know if it's, like, ulterior motives and shit like that. So it just, like, you know, and it was understandable. But from there, you know, we exchanged contact information and we started working. And it was like, that was such a valuable thing. And so maybe a few weeks after, every week I would check in with him. I'm like, hey, you know, I got ideas. If you need help with anything, I got you. I would do that, like, every week. Make sure to check in. And I do that with everybody. Like, it's really good to remind people you exist.
I agree, 100%.
And, like, I hate social media. I hate to post. I know it's, like, a necessary thing when you're in entertainment, but like, I hate it. Like, sometimes I go weeks without posting and shit. But I'll contact people personally because I feel that means more.
Yeah.
So I was contacting Andrew weekly. And then all of a sudden something happened with his brother, who was the videographer for Brilliant Idiots. And, like, he was no longer able to do it. Andrew hit me up. He's like, yo, you still able to work? And I was like, hell fucking yeah.
Wow.
Boom. Happened just like that.
Damn, that's it?
Just like that.
Yeah, because his brother had an episode.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Just like that. So from there, they saw what I was able to do. Like, I guess, like,
So the first episode that you recorded, I mean, how was that feeling?
Oh my God. Like, I'm still not, like, over, like, that feeling of, like, oh shit, that's Charlemagne right there. Oh shit, that's Andrew. Like, I'm still not over that. But, like, I'm a bit more comfortable. But yeah, it was like, I was geeked, man. I barely said a word. I was just, like, making sure I don't fuck up. That was the only thing I was worried about, just not fucking up. Like, Stan, don't fuck up. I was early as fuck. Like, they weren't even ready. I was just sitting around for about a half hour. But, you know, I just and then after I recorded, they were, like, really impressed with the video because, and not to say that his brother didn't do a good job. It's just I just did things a little bit different,
right.
And I took some initiative by, like, adding some graphics, like, because I do a little bit of graphic design, so, like, I just improved on the video, and they really liked that, and it was like, yeah. And then my turnaround time is crazy. Like, I can shoot a 2-hour podcast and I'll have the full video, I'll have 2 clips, and I'll have Instagram clips ready to go the next morning.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't really sleep very much.
I need to hire you for
Yeah, I don't sleep very much. But yeah, my turnaround time, I think that's probably my most valuable asset, because it's like, when I get in the zone in something, especially something like I'm passionate about,
right,
I don't stop till I finish it.
Good gracious. In the morning already ready to go.
Yeah.
So have you worked on, because I'm a huge Loudspeaker Network fan. I mean, that's probably part of the reason that I started my podcast, was just being so inspired by
that's what's up.
Damn near everybody on that Loudspeaker. So have you worked with any other podcasters on there?
Yeah, and I'm still trying. I'm trying to get the read, man. I love the read.
Yeah, why don't they do?
So I don't want to speak on their behalf, but they just prefer not to film their podcast. But oh man, that would be a dream to work on that too. Because, like, I used to listen to the read, and it's funny, as a a heterosexual man listening to two gay people
that's
as entertaining as that and not feeling a way about it. Like their podcast is just like gold, So I would like to work with them, but so I work with Flagrant 2, which is a sports podcast on Loudspeaker. I work with it's called Wester Bros. That's like they review like certain movies and television shows.
And those are both with Andrew Schultz, correct?
Yeah, he's on both of those. There's another podcast. It's not on the network yet. We're hoping to get on the network. It's called Horrible Decisions. It's with my girl Mandy B and Wheezy. It's
not to be confused with
not Lil Wayne. Yeah.
Like, you got a fire? Oh, hold on.
No. But it's their podcast is so entertaining. It's like people sometimes compare it to lip service, but it's like it's way different because they don't really interview like celebrities. It's more just like normal people that have certain kinks, or they're in like the last podcast. I think they had like a lady who ran a BBW porn site.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so they'll just have like stuff like that, and then excuse me, it's like really interesting, and it's just like very informative. Like they had a lesbian on, and the lesbian was like giving proper ways to go down on a girl and the ways to finger a girl. I definitely learned a few things.
I'm gonna need the name of that episode.
Yo, I tried it. Yo, there's like this wave situation. I'll tell you later. But that shit works, bro.
So have you done recordings for them for that podcast?
Oh yeah. I work with them weekly. And they're doing well. Like they're doing like live shows. That's the most fun I'm having now, because like now I'm working with like big podcasts that they do live shows, and I love the fact that I'm able to get flown out for work.
Wait, you're doing the videos for the live shows too?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm out here. Like,
so how does it live? Because I mean, obviously, most podcasts don't release the live shows. I mean, it's just, like they release clips and shit. Yeah. So what is the production of a live show?
So it's a lot harder because you have bigger space to cover. Usually, most podcasts don't release the full video because then people aren't like encouraged to buy tickets to go to it.
Yeah, it's not as intimate if everybody just sees it anyway.
Exactly. So it's like, we typically just release clips. But, for example, Flagrant 2, the sports podcast, we were out in LA for the All-Star game. And so we had a live show out there. The venue, it was a nice side venue. It wasn't huge, but it was standing room only. It wasn't seated. So that was difficult as fuck. So it's like I have 3 cameras. I have one set up on a tripod directly in front of them, and I have to like constantly like tell fans like not to block it and shit. I have another one off to the side so I can get like a profile look. That one I was doing handheld, so that way I can like get some crowd, some views of the crowd and views of them. And then I had one I had to like create. I had a tripod that was on top of like some ladder situation that was like coming down, so I got the whole room. So you see them in the front and you see the crowd, and it's like that was like a dope shot. Jeez. I was just like I don't know what gave me the idea to put that together. It was very risky because if that shit fell, that would have been fucking $4,000 down the drain. But I just try it. I just go for it.
Good gracious.
I get an idea, I just go for it.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So let me move on to purchasing your own equipment.
Yeah.
Do you think
expensive?
Oh, trust me. Yeah, you can look into that camera and see.
I like that.
I didn't find that on eBay. But do you think when it comes to your own passion, being a videographer, how important is it to purchase your own equipment, or do you think you can just use whoever's show it is? Like,
you gotta invest in yourself. You gotta, because people don't take you seriously. If you're asking, can I use your equipment? It's like, are you really a videographer? Or you just a person here gonna hit record? Like, nah. Like you gotta invest in your own equipment. I got like 3 really nice cameras. Got light systems, similar setup that you have here. And then also like I'm literally a walking podcast. So I also have like a digital audio mixer, 4 mics, like decent mics. Like I have a body bag. It looks like that I travel with.
Really?
So I can set up any location, give you crystal clear audio and video.
Good gracious.
Yeah.
You're like the best kept secret.
Yeah, yo, and they're holding me. They're at loudspeaker.
I see that. Damn.
But yeah, a few places been inquiring about my services with subtitle.
So what? Just off the top of your head, like, give me 2 podcasts besides that's not on the Loudspeakers Network that you would love to work with.
That I would love to work with. That's a good question.
I Game Around. I mean, damn.
Oh,
right? Can I get a shout out on my shit?
I mean, of course. I'm already working with you right now. I Game Around, first one. Damn. Yo, really? Oh, Joe Budden's podcast.
Oh, really?
I've been trying for them, man, these motherfuckers. But then it's like, I guess I can't because the fans kind of pin the 2 podcasts up like it's a competition thing, even though we're in different categories and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm a fan of both of those. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think Joe Budden's podcast is a little better than Brilliant Idiots because it's just the...
Yo, you want to fight right now? Like, that's what you trying to do?
I was going to be honest.
You trying to do that, man? Fuck that, man.
But I really didn't understand. Like, everybody knows Charlamagne and Joe are friends. So, when what was it, a week or 2 ago with the mall situation?
Yeah.
To me, it was just playful fun. Like, I didn't see anything too serious.
If you notice, Maul every week, he tries to drop a few hot takes in there. Like, he tries to get the streets talking. And it works because I remember he had a hot take about, like, if you mess with, like, a big girl, you're really gay or bisexual, but you just have to overcompensate. Some shit like that.
Oh, when he was talking about messing with a girl with fake boobs and fake titties. Yeah. Okay, I remember. I'm
like... What fucking sense does that make? Like, what if you just into girls that have big asses and big tits? Like, so it's like I feel like he drops those in just to get the streets talking, and it works and it's dope. I love their podcast. I listen every week.
Yeah.
Damn, I don't know if I should give up the sauce, but like.
Don't do it, man.
Yeah. Let me not mess up my connects. Right.
Let me just say I do love big women, but I'm not gay or bi, so just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, so just can you give me in just a few short words, what would be your advice to somebody that just decided to be a videographer? They just picked up their little Canon, a little $150 video camcorder or whatever, and they're trying to start out. What would be some of your tips?
Ooh, if you picked up one of those, I'm going to suggest that you save up and buy a better one.
You fucked up already.
Yeah, you fucked up already. You kind of just wasted some money. But trust me, if you look at all my old equipment, I have like about 2 GoPros. I have a bunch of like cheap Canons. Like, I definitely started on that same path where it's like, hey, I didn't have the money for it yet, but I want to do it. So it's like, I'm going to just try to do what I can do. But definitely equipment's important. Try like whatever you can afford, try to get the best that you can afford. Mm-hmm. That's starters. The main thing is you have to be willing to sacrifice. I sacrifice so much. I've sacrificed relationships. I recently, my relationship recently ended in January. And I wouldn't say it's because of my work. We were going through problems or whatever, but the fact that I'm always working didn't help because I wasn't around to like fix it and shit. But you got to be willing to sacrifice. I sacrifice sleep. I risk my job every day because I'm either coming in late, leaving early, using all my vacation time to be able to, shoot these podcasts. But it's like, I love what I do. And so I'm going to push it to the limit. So you got to be willing to sacrifice. Equipment's important. You got to put in those 1,000 hours. Like, get on that YouTube, learn as much as you can. Every day I try to learn something else. Like, learn something new. Like,
what did you learn yesterday?
Yesterday, what was I doing? I actually was recording. Oh, shout out to Marissa Mendez. She was like probably the second person I worked with after Cypher Sounds who like really like sparked that interest in podcasts. But what did I learn yesterday? Okay, I'm lying. I didn't learn shit yesterday. I learned not to drink and try to record a podcast because I definitely walked in front of the camera mad times.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, so normally the way I end my show is I end it with a quote. But when I have guests, I like to end it with, if somebody was only listening to like the last 2 minutes of the podcast, what would you like for them to take away from the whole podcast?
As cliche as it sounds, put the work in. Like, we have the access to do anything nowadays as long as you're willing to put the work in.
That's it.
Yeah.
Work, baby, work.
Word.
That's it. All right, this has been another episode of I Game Around, a podcast without a tagline that I'm working on. And Alex, I thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you.
I was about to say joining us, but you saw what happened when I said us last time.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to go with that.
So
like, yeah, we working.
And we out.
Peace.